Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today I am going to be doing my Six Nations predictions of who I think will finish where in this year's Six Nations. And core blimey, is it going to be a very close one this season. As always, after the World Cup, the Six Nations after is always the closest Six Nations, I feel, and this is going to be no different. New teams, new coaches, new players. It's gonna be a good one. So let's go straight into it with who I think will be finishing sixth and getting the wooden spoon in this year's Six Nations. And my choice on this is no different practically every year. I do think it's going to be Italy again, and I feel like though they're going to be closer to the challenge. Though I feel like they're closer to Scotland, or I can't tell whether they've moved forward or Scotland have moved back, but I think it's going to be a bit more of a fight for the wooden spoon than the usual Italy losing all the games. Because me personally, I don't think they will. I think Italy could win a game, and I think that game against Scotland at the Stadio Olimpico could be the game that they win in this year's Six Nations. But I still don't think they have it against the other teams to beat them. I think Scotland are probably the only team at the moment that they could beat. But that still depends on how the Scots will play and if the Scots play any differently to the way they were in the World Cup. But for me, with Italy, I think it's the same issues every Six Nations. They can compete. They have a good team full of young talent, a lot of old heads as well to help. They've got a good balance there. They've got good players, a good coach. But it's the same thing over and over again with Italy, and it's the fact that they can't really go for 80 minutes. They can compete for good 60 minutes, good 50 minutes, and be within 7, 3, 10 points of their opponent, of anyone, of any of the tier 1 sides. But then they just lose it. I feel like they go out the blocks really quick, they try to get onto their opponents quickly, and they don't do it tactically. They go out, they go all out, and they're within a couple of points, and then all of a sudden it goes away. And after the 60-minute mark, the floodgates open and teams score tries against them, and that always seems to be the continuous problem. I don't think Italy are a bad team. I just think they don't have the fitness levels yet, and they really need those fitness levels in big international competitions, especially against tier 1 nations. I know they are a tier 1 nation, only just, but they still don't have the fitness levels. And I would have thought by now they would have gained those fitness levels, but it's still an ongoing issue. And because of that, I still think that they're going to get the wooden spoon. But they've got a lot of good players in their ranks. I mean, Jake Pelledri's a monster in the flank, and he could be a real star in this World Cup for Italy. He was a star in the World Cup in last year, and he could be a star in this Six Nations as well. He's probably their best player. They've also got Matteo Minuzzi, who's a very good attacking player. Tommaso Allens, who is a very good 10. So they do have good players in their ranks, but I just don't think that they have it in them to go the full 80, and the fitness levels aren't there. That is just the same issue for Italy, and I feel like that is the issue which isn't pushing them on further. But saying that, what I'm saying does seem all negative. Saying that though, I do think that they could snatch a win, and I do think that this year could be a year when they get a win, and it could be a year where they don't get the wooden spoon. That Scotland game, as I said, they're going to be targeting that. They're going to be wanting to win that game, and part of me is feeling like they could, because it's at the Stadio Olimpico, and if they target it, they could go for it. But I still think that against the likes of France, against the likes of Ireland, Wales, and England, they still can't do it, and the schedule's tough. I mean, they've only got two home games, and one of them's against England, and their three away games, Wales, Ireland, and France. They're not going to win those three away games, and the fact they've got England at home, I don't see them winning that. So, for me, Italy will go strides forwards this year. I think they can take positives from the World Cup last year and take them into this competition, and I think that they can challenge. It's that fitness levels, but and as I said, the Scotland game, I think they could win that, But overall, I still think it's going to be another year and another wooden spoon for Italy. And overall, I think they are going to be finishing in sixth place in this Six Nations. Moving on then to who I think is going to be in fifth place, and after what I said about sixth place in Italy and the wooden spoon, you might guess who I think is going to finish fifth, and it's going to be Scotland. Now, I don't, I don't know what the issue is with Scotland. I feel like it's the same sort of, not the same problems as Italy, but it's the fact that they've got cracking players and a brilliant team, but it's just not working. Something isn't working, and it needs to. Something needs to click for the Scots, and if it clicks, they can be brilliant. They can be such a good team if they're on form, but when they're off form, they just don't seem to work. It just all seems a bit forced and or a bit individual and not really working as a team. I mean, from what we saw at the World Cup, I don't think anyone's full of confidence with Scotland, and if their form is the same as what it was at the World Cup, and it sort of looks like that with them picking the same sort of players, and yeah, basically with them picking the same sort of players, it looks like that they haven't changed much from the World Cup. And for me, they needed to change something from the World Cup. Something had to change, but unless the tactics change for Scotland, of course. But other than that, because we don't know that until the first game, from what we see now, it doesn't seem like anything's changed. And if they go off what happened in the World Cup, it's not going to work because something didn't work in that World Cup. Yes, they played well against Samoa, they played well against Russia, but the rest of that World Cup just wasn't good enough. They weren't good enough against Japan, and they weren't good enough against Ireland. It just makes me wonder in the which direction this Scotland team is heading. It doesn't seem like they've changed anything, and for me, I feel like they're going to just carry on of where they left off, which really they shouldn't do. They needed to change something, but nothing seems to have changed. As I said, we'll have to wait till the first kick-off, and I think it's going to be a very, very tough Six Nations for Scotland, especially with the levels of the other teams. I mean, France are looking good this Six Nations, and of course Ireland, Wales, and England are looking good as well. And Italy are even closing in on them. They could be chasing their tails, and that's what I'm saying. I just think Scotland don't have something. Something's wrong there, and it's just not clicking. It needs to click because, as I said, Scotland play on form with their players, and if their players play at the level that they can, and we know they can, then they're a dangerous, dangerous side. Another factor is their away form. Their away form is appalling. They just don't seem to play well away, and it doesn't help at all. And they do have some tough fixtures on them. I mean, they've got England at home, and as much as they have retained the Calcutta Cup twice now, I don't know if I can see them doing it again. They've got a tough fixture away at Italy. They've got France at home, which could be a good game for them. They could target that game considering on the French's away form. And then you've got games such as the Ireland game, which is in the Aviva Stadium, and Wales they've got away as well. It's a tough selection of fixtures, and out of them I can really see them only getting maybe one, maybe two victories. But I don't know. There's just something in me that doesn't feel like Scotland are going to really push forward, and I think they're going to struggle. And if anything, I may be wrong in saying this, but my feeling is that Scotland maybe more towards the back end of this Six Nations and maybe more towards Italy than going anywhere near the main four and the top three teams in this Six Nations. And that's just how I feel, and I think Scotland are going to really struggle in this Six Nations, to be honest, because I don't think much has changed. And yeah, I think Scotland are going to finish fifth, and that won't be a good result for them, but I think it's going to happen again. In fourth place this Six Nations, I am going to be putting France. Now, a lot of people are suggesting they will be dark horses, and I'm not surprised over that claim. To be honest, they've got a very good set of youngsters in their camp. A lot of uncapped players who have come from the under 20 scene, which did really well for France in the past couple of seasons. They've got a good coaching setup now. Fabien Galtier is a decent coach, and they've got Sean Edwards as a defensive coach, which is a great acquisition for France to sort out their defensive fragilities. Um, yeah, so I can see why France are going to be supposedly dark horses. But the reason I am putting them in fourth is because I think it will take a little bit longer for them to mould into the tactics, bond with one another, etc., etc. Because it takes a while to wipe away issues that have been there for a while, and France have had the same issues quite a lot, and it all bases around inconsistencies in game, inconsistencies throughout the whole game, etc., etc. Can't the fact that they aren't very good away from home, and all these things that just mould into France having big issues, and they have had big issues, France, over the time, and it's going to take them a while to sort that out. I think it's going to take a while, and I don't think it'll be an easy fix, a fix that will be done in 80 minutes, or a fix that will be done throughout the whole tournament. The tournament will see a change, I think, in France. I think we'll slowly, gradually see them get better and better and better. So the first game against England might be a bit poor, and then when they come up to their last game, it might be a very different France we see. I think over the next couple of years and seasons, they'll slowly get better and better, and they could be challengers over the next couple of years and seasons. But for this season, I think it's just a bit too soon to be calling them dark horses. Yes, they've got a fantastic team, they've got good coaching setup, and if they get the right tactics, they can be fantastic. But it's just so many issues that need to be wiped out, and it's just not an easy fix. It's going to take more longer. So whether in 2021 they become challengers or 2022, yeah, I think France will slowly get there, but not in this tournament. This tournament will be more of a rebuilding tournament for France, and therefore I think they will have a good tournament in terms of rebuilding. I think it'll be a very good rebuilding phase for France. But as in terms of the whole table, I just don't think they're gonna be dark horses. I think it's gonna take too much from them with all the issues they've got to fix and the moulding of players and etc. etc. I think it's just gonna be a rebuilding phase for France, and I think because of that, they are gonna finish fourth in this year's Six Nations. So, in third place, this is where it gets hard. All three of these teams could all win this Six Nations. Ireland, England, and Wales, in my eyes, they can all win this Six Nations. Um, and I think putting any of those three anywhere in first, second, or third is putting your neck on the line. Definitely. So I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to say Ireland are going to finish third. And I think Ireland third's not great for them, but I think they'll challenge, and I think they'll have a good campaign. I think there'll be a lot of bright areas in Ireland's game because they have a fantastic team. I mean, you look at the way Leinster have been playing recently. If they can take that into the Ireland game, then this could be something else. But I just think it's going to take a while. It's a bit like a France situation. It's almost another rebuilding phase because last year was appallingly bad for Ireland. I mean, they were hoping to go into the World Cup as Six Nations champions and go into the World Cup as favourites, and they came out of last year looking down in the dumps. So I think it will take a while for them to get some form back, but I think that's happened over the Pro 14 period. I think these Ireland players have been playing really well in domestic competitions, especially the Leinster players. They've been insane. Of course, Leinster haven't lost yet this season. So a lot of these factors are pointing towards Ireland being one of the favourites, and they are one of the favourites. My thing is with Ireland though is I don't know about Andy Farrell being the coach. I think Ireland have a good setup, great team, and can play some fantastic rugby. My only worry is Andy Farrell, and I've just got a little feeling that he's not going to work for Ireland because I look at him in the past and in the places he has been coached before, he hasn't done brilliantly, and the team that he has been in the coaching staff with haven't done brilliantly. Just look at the time when he was with England; they weren't they weren't firing on all cylinders. And then he comes into Ireland halfway through the World Cup process, and I'm not saying the issues were lying with him. It'll be not just be with him, but with something else. But something about him, it just doesn't seem to be an amazing coach. He's all right. He's not bad, but I just don't think he's going to work. I don't think it's going to click. That's just my feeling on past occasions. But don't get me wrong. This Ireland team definitely have the ability to go and win this Six Nations 100%. Because even if Andy Farrell isn't a great coach, the team will still play brilliantly. Because they've got outstanding players: Jordan Lama, James Ryan, Johnny Sexton, John Cooney, Ty Furlong, the world class players that can just play brilliantly no matter what. And Ireland will always be favourites when they have a team like this, especially with the style of play that they were playing. Because if they play with the same style, and I guess they will, because Andy Farrell was in the coaching staff while Schmidt was there, then they will challenge. They will be there, but I just have a little feeling it's not going to click yet in this Six Nations. I think it'll be, as I said, a rebuilding process, and maybe I will be shocked. Maybe it will be different, and maybe they will go and win the Six Nations. Who knows? All I know is it's going to be very, very tight, and any decision in a prediction, especially in a tight competition as in the Six Nations, is always putting your neck on the line. So you just got to go with it sometimes, and I'm going with it. I'm saying Ireland are going to finish third in this year's Six Nations. Now, second place, I am putting Wales. I think Wales are not going to regain the championship. They're not going to regain the Six Nations. They're not going to keep hold of it, and they won't get another Grand Slam. But they will be fighting right till the very death, as will Ireland. As I said, these three, England, Wales, and Ireland, will be the three who I think will be competing for it. But I think Wales are going to finish second, and that's only really because of new coaching staff such as Wayne Pivac, and we don't really know how they're going to work yet. This is the beauty of the Six Nations after the World Cup. We don't know how teams are going to work. Wales have a very, very good team, but they're littered with injuries. So, and that is a major issue. I mean, Josh Navidi's now been ruled out of most of the World Cup, Six Nations. What am I on about? Has been ruled out of most of the Six Nations. Liam Williams is going to be there until a couple games after. Jonathan Davis isn't there. You've got big injuries in that Wales squad, which will hinder them, and it's causing them to go right back into the locker and look deep in deep dark holes for players who would, for me, rarely be picked if main players were there. So these injuries are only going to hurt Wales, but they've still got a very good team. Like players they brought in, Louis Rees-Zammit, if he gets some games, I can believe that he's going to be outstanding. Nick Tompkins, who they've nicked from England, is a very good player as well. So some of these players that are new are very, very good and could prove helpful to Wales in big situations. But because I don't really know how they're going to work, because we don't know how Wayne Pivac's going to play, I think it's going to be more of an attacking style, looking at the way he was when he was with the Scarlets, and most of the coaching staff being former Scarlets coaching staff. I feel like it's going to be a much more attacking Wales, and if it is, then it's going to take them a while to breed into that, especially after such a long Gatland era, and they could be feeling the repercussions of that Gatland era as well. So for me, I think they'll be in contention with the players they've got, but I think they will finish second due to the fact that I don't really know how they're going to work, and you never know, they could be there, but I think they're going to finish second in this year's Six Nations. It's going to be very close though. I think Wales could prove themselves, and I do think the Gatland era being over could hurt them because he's been there so long, and it's going to take a while for Wayne Pivac to put in his philosophies. But the fact that they've got Italy first is a great opening fixture because they can put those philosophies in line, they can put those tactics in line, and see if it works. And if it shows itself against Italy, then they could be dangerous. They are definitely going to be dangerous in this Six Nations, as are Ireland, as are England, as are France. But for me, I believe they are going to be just off the Six Nations title, and they are going to finish second in this year's Six Nations. So that leaves me with one team and one position, and that is who I think are going to win the Six Nations. I think England are going to win the Six Nations, but I don't think they'll win the Grand Slam. I think they will lose at least one game this year. Don't know who it will be against, but I have a slight feeling it won't be a Grand Slam victory for England, and they will lose one game. Um, I think England are looking very good. They haven't really needed to change much after the World Cup because it was a very successful World Cup. They came second, they were runners up, but there's no need for change because they really showed themselves in that World Cup, and they were brilliant throughout last year as well. Very unlucky not to win the Six Nations, and very unlucky not to win the World Cup. I wouldn't say unlucky to an extent, but they could have won the World Cup, they could have won the Six Nations. But this year I think it will be their year in terms of winning the Six Nations because they've just got so many good players. They've got their tactics set out, and after such a good World Cup for them, they will take that and they'll take that into the Six Nations. They will be the team to beat, and teams will be going after them and trying to go for them, and that could be a downfall because everyone's going to target England as the team to beat, which of course they are, being the team that was most successful in the World Cup last year. But yeah, other than that, I think England will do it. The players they've got, outstanding. I mean, just Tom Curry, Owen Farrell, Maro Itoje, the stars of the World Cup. If they regain their form and all that, then I think they could do it. But as I said, I don't think they'll win the Grand Slam. I think every team will lose at least one game, as well as every team winning at least one game. Uh, yeah, so I don't think England will get the Grand Slam. They'll lose against someone. Don't know who, but I feel they'll lose against someone. And with their fixture schedule, having France first will be a very big one. If they perform poorly against France, can be a tough Six Nations. But that France game is going to be a very important one because if they manage to beat France at home, France in France, playing well, then no doubt I think they'll win the Six Nations because France away is a tough prospect, and France always turn up when they're at home. So for me, if England win that first game against France, I think they will go on to win it because that will be their toughest game. The fact they've got Ireland and Wales at home favours them. So that France game for me will probably be one of their toughest. Win that, and they're definitely odds on to go and win the Six Nations. So, so yeah, the only real issue is the Saracens issue. If the Saracens scandal gets into their heads and becomes an issue, then that could hinder them. I don't think it will be though, and I think they'll win the. And yeah, as I said, I think they'll win the Six Nations. The fact that they don't have many injuries, they've got star players that if they take on the positives of the World Cup and take it into this Six Nations, they'll be the team to beat. And I think England are going to be Six Nations champions by the end of March. So there we go then. They were my predictions, and my question to you are: what are your predictions for the Six Nations? Who do you think are going to win it? Who do you think are going to get the wooden spoon? And who do you think is going to be the surprise candidate? Another question: who will be the biggest star in the World Cup? I keep saying World Cup, I mean Six Nations. Who will be the biggest player in the Six Nations with the biggest impact? I'll be happy to know your thoughts on that. Go follow me on social media on Instagram, same tag Rugby Mayhem, as well as on Twitter. On Instagram, I do a load of predictions and just put out the latest news and polls and stuff. Very interactive. On Twitter, pretty much the same. So go follow me on those social media sites, as well as clicking the subscribe button. That will be very helpful, and much appreciated on my side. If you do that, that would be much appreciated. So please, any support would be welcome. Like if you enjoyed this video and if you want more content like this. Yeah, thank you all for watching this video. I will see you in a bit with another video very, very soon.